Okay, so are you ready? Because today,
We are diving deep into how kids learn language.
and I'm not going to lie.
Getting ready for this one, even I had some like, wait, really moments.
Yeah.
Because we're not just talking about like goo 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 ga.
Right.
We're talking about the really intricate systems that are at play when a child learns to talk.
Yeah, what always gets me is how much we all just like marvel at a baby when they say mama or dada for the first time.
Oh, yeah.
But, behind those like deceptively simple words
Right.
is this like universal process of astounding complexity.
It's true.
It's happening whether that child is in, Tokyo or Timbuktu.
It's like there's this secret code book hardwired into all humans.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Right, as well.
you hear those videos of babies babbling and you think it's just like cute noise.
Right.
But someone who speaks Japanese will hear different sounds in a babbling baby than an English-speaking family.
Exactly.
Like they are already tuning into their environment.
Yeah, it's like their brains are these incredible pattern detectors just like
It's amazing.
soaking it up.
It really is.
But here's something to consider.
Okay.
Think about how we constantly read to babies
Yeah.
who haven't even said a word yet.
Right.
You might think, oh, that's just a soothing routine or something like that. But what's really interesting is that receptive language, their understanding of words actually develops way faster than their ability to speak.
Oh, wow.
You're building this foundation of language
Yeah.
even before they can say more book.
That is fascinating and also so reassuring.
Oh, absolutely.
For parents who are like, oh my gosh, my kid's not talking yet.
Right.
It's like, you're already doing it.
Exactly.
Just by like,
You're nurturing those language skills even when you don't realize it.
just by engaging them.
Yeah.
But I am dying to know how kids go from like single words to grammar. Like, how do they make that leap?
Right.
And I feel like we can't talk about that without mentioning the WUG test.
Of course not.
You had me at made up creature.
It's classic.
Tell us about this.
Okay, so essentially, researchers show a child a picture of this imaginary creature,
Okay.
right? A wug.
Okay.
And then they show them two of these creatures.
Okay.
And they say, now there are two.
Yeah.
And the kid, without ever having heard the word wugs before, will get it right
Wow.
and say wugs, proving that they're not just mimicking.
They're internalizing grammatical rules.
Hold on.
So it's not just like cat versus cats.
Right.
They're understanding like
The pattern.
the pattern.
Yes.
And then they can apply that to a completely new word,
Exactly.
even if it's made up. My
Yeah.
mind is a little blown right now.
It highlights how much cognitive work is happening behind the scenes.
Yeah.
They're like little linguistic detectives constantly testing and refining their understanding of how language works.
Wow.
And this becomes even more apparent when we look at how they learn to use negation.
Oh, you mean the no phase?
Because I swear for a while there, it feels less like grammar and more like a declaration of independence.
Exactly.
It's just like, no.
Right. That forceful no
Yes.
might seem simple, but it actually marks the very beginning of this fascinating journey through the stages of negation.
Oh, okay.
So they start with that single word no, right?
Right?
Then they gradually start to add in the subjects the verbs,
Yeah.
and eventually those auxiliary verbs like do and be.
So it gets more complex.
It does.
And there are bumps along the way.
Oh, for sure.
Like when a kid says, I don't have no more candies,
The cutest.
it's grammatically wrong,
Yes.
but conceptually
It's very advanced.
so advanced.
Right.
They're juggling negation and possession and quantity
Exactly.
all in that one little sentence.
It's amazing.
It's pretty incredible. It really does show the mental gymnastics they're doing.
Yeah.
And this whole idea of kids like testing things out
Okay.
becomes even more literal when they discover question words.
Oh, yeah.
Wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely.
It's like they unlock this cheat code to getting information.
Right.
And at first it's these simple attempts like cookie or up.
But then as their understanding grows,
Right.
so do their questions.
And the really neat part,
Then okay.
that the types of questions they ask actually mirror their cognitive development.
Oh, wow.
It often starts with what, where, and who,
Okay.
focusing on all those concrete things
Makes sense.
that they can easily grasp at that age.
At that age, the world is very much like, what is that?
Exactly.
Where is it?
Yeah.
Who is that?
Yeah.
But
Then
then,
comes the why stage.
oh boy,
And you know you're in for it as a parent because
Yeah.
things are about to get.
a lot more philosophical.
Tell me about it.
I remember babysitting my nephew when he hit the Y phase.
Yeah.
It was relentless. It
Okay.
was just like question after question after question.
But you're saying that these why questions
Mhm.
are actually a sign of some pretty serious cognitive growth.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It marks a really important shift from
That concrete thinking to a more abstract way of thinking. They're no longer satisfied with just knowing what something is.
Yeah.
They want to know why it is.
Right.
Why does it work this way?
The reasons.
Yes, the reasons behind things.
And honestly, sometimes these why questions come with like the most hilarious misinterpretations.
Okay, you can't just tease that.
Oh, it's true.
You got to give me an example.
Okay, so picture this.
Okay.
You've got this young child. They ask their parent, when can we go to the park?
Yeah.
The parent says, oh, in about 10 minutes.
And the child, completely serious, starts counting down from 10,
Oh.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6.
Oh my gosh.
They're trying to apply this very concrete understanding
Right.
to this abstract concept of time.
That's amazing
Yeah.
and adorable.
It's so cute.
It's like they're little scientists
Giving up.
conducting these experiments.
But it also makes me think like,
Getting the question words right is one thing, but like the actual structure of a question,
Yeah.
that's a whole other hurdle.
it is.
Because I've heard a lot of why you don't have one.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Like
Like
their process.
they go through these amazing stages.
You know, starting with just intonation, like they're asking a question.
Right.
But there's no real grammatical structure yet.
Okay.
Then you get this thing called fronting,
Okay.
where they basically stick a question word at the beginning of a statement.
Okay.
Like they might say, is the doggy sleepy?
Oh, that's cute.
Which is adorable.
And then eventually they crack the code.
Of subject auxiliary inversion.
Which, let's be honest, even we as adults,
Sometime you trip up on.
right, like it's complicated.
It is kind of complicated.
But the takeaway here for anyone who's ever been amazed by a child learning to speak is this.
Okay.
They are not just memorizing phrases.
They're figuring out
Oh.
these incredibly complex rules.
By analyzing the language they hear and like forming their own internal rule book in their minds.
That is amazing.
It really is a remarkable feat.
So they're like these little linguists running around testing out their theories.
I love that.
It's incredible.
Yes, exactly.
But this language journey, it doesn't stop when they enter school.
Does it?
Oh no, not even close.
In fact, I think that's where things get even more interesting.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like they're entering a whole new level of the language game.
Right.
It's not just talking anymore.
It's a whole different ballgame.
They've got textbooks and essays.
Yeah. And don't forget
Oh,
about...
and playground slang.
Yes.
It's a lot.
It really is.
So think about it.
Yeah.
They're encountering all this new vocabulary, like lightning speed.
It's incredible.
They have to figure out, like, the difference between formal and informal language.
Right. Because what flies on the playground
Right.
definitely doesn't fly in an essay.
Not at all.
And then on top of all that,
They're learning this idea of, like, correct grammar.
which like might not be how they talk with their friends.
Exactly.
So confusing.
It's a lot to juggle.
It really is. And this is where we see this really interesting development happening.
Okay.
It's called metalinguistic awareness.
Metalinguistic awareness.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah, it is.
But basically
Well,
it
it's
means...
being able to step back and think about language as this object itself.
Okay.
As a system.
like a system with rules.
Like,
So they're not just using language.
I'm thinking about it.
Yes, like analyzing it.
Wow.
And you know what plays a huge role in this?
What's that?
Reading.
Oh, interesting.
When kids see words on a page,
It reinforces this idea that language has a concrete form,
it's not just sounds.
right? Like it exists outside of just us talking.
Wow.
And then they start to grasp things like ambiguity,
Okay.
like that words can have multiple meanings.
Oh, like puns.
Yes, exactly.
Which suddenly those like really corny knock-knock jokes I loved as a kid,
Yeah,
now they make so much more sense.
right.
They're so funny.
It all comes together.
And let's not forget about like,
Just the massive amount of vocabulary they're learning at this age.
oh, it's mind-blowing.
It really is.
We're talking hundreds, if not thousands, of new words every year.
It makes sense when you consider how much they're reading.
Exactly.
And not just for school,
Right.
but also for fun.
That's key.
And I bet those two types of reading are doing very different things for their brains.
You are 100% right.
Tell me everything.
Okay, so assigned reading,
Yeah.
it's exposing them to all this new vocabulary,
Okay.
but within a specific subject area.
So it's focused.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
But reading for pleasure.
That allows them to explore different genres, different writing styles, different time periods.
So it's more about, like, expanding their horizons.
Exactly.
So what you're saying is,
Me reading all those fantasy novels as a kid,
yes,
good for me.
so good for you.
It all paid off.
It all pays off.
It really highlights something so important about language.
This journey of learning language, it never really ends, does it?
Never.
Even as adults, like, we're learning new words.
All the time.
Slang is changing.
Right. Language is dynamic.
Yeah.
It's constantly evolving and changing, and we get to be along for the ride.
I love that.
So the next time you hear a child, like, struggling to pronounce a word,
Yeah.
or maybe they get the word order wrong in a sentence,
Just take a moment to appreciate what's actually happening.
they're doing amazing things.
It's incredible.
It really is.
Learning language is a remarkable feat.
Absolutely.
And it's also filled with wonder and humor.
And don't forget those aha moments when
Yeah.
it all just clicks.
I love that.
Yes.
Well, that's about all the time we have for today's deep dive.
Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you.
And until next time, happy listening.